9:11 here on the Big 550 KTRS. A couple weeks ago, Boeing rumored to be moving some jobs here to St. Louis. It was going to be, they were going to spend billions of dollars. So everybody got together, put their heads together. Republicans talked to Democrats, and for a week, we all got along. Turned out Boeing just decided to keep all their jobs in Seattle. But another guy mentioned that he wanted to spend $1 billion to help develop a part of town, and he got sued for the next 5 years. I'm talking about Paul McKee and the Northside Regeneration Project. He joins us now in studio along with his wife, Paul McKee and Midge McKee. Welcome, both of you, to the Big 550 KTRS.
Morning. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Delighted to be here.
This is going to be a very difficult interview for me because I am I've been on your side in this the whole time. So I apologize if I'm somewhat biased in this interview. I'll do my best.
That'll be gratifying.
I'll do my best to stick it to you guys as much as I can.
Right.
Paul McKee, I first met you. You have no recollection of this. My Leadership St. Louis class, we came out to Wing Haven.
Yes.
When it was just getting started, and you spoke to the class about what Wing Haven was going to be.
Yes, sir.
And it was all farmland. And Wing Haven was your sort of big, huge project, was it not? Take us back 10 years ago. What happened there?
Yes, we actually bought the first piece of ground in 1997, and it was a partnership of McKee, our firm, McBride and Son Homes,
Right.
Also Fred Weber. With the roads, and another fellow by the name of Doug Brown. So it was four of us that really put Wing Haven together. So today it's a grand success.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, there's no without a doubt. It's had some ups and downs, and that sort of boardwalk street hasn't taken off the way you wanted to. But overall, I think you have to admit that Wing Haven has been a smashing success all the way through.
That's correct. The boardwalk is now 100% occupied.
Is that right?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I've had a few drinks at Llewellyn's there.
Me
It's
too.
a great spot. We like going to Llewellyn.
So maybe I was blacked out when I was walking back to the car, so I didn't recognize everything. But Wing Haven's McBride's still building a couple of homes out there, right?
Yes, yeah. There was a couple pieces of ground that the banks took back, and now McBride is finishing up the last pieces of ground.
How many homes were built out there?
There are 2,400 dwelling units that went all the way from apartments to attached housing to single-family housing, all the way up to $750,000 homes.
You have that MasterCard business out there, and you also have a whole bunch of commercial out there as well, right?
That's correct, yeah. We competed with 42 cities to win the MasterCard project, and we're delighted. It's the MasterCard's Operations Center, Worldwide Operations Center.
There's a movie theater out there.
Movie theater.
There's restaurants, and Stiefel Nicholas has a big facility out there.
That's
so it's
correct.
a big growing area. After Wing Haven, you turn your attention to North St. Louis?
Yes, well, two things, North St. Louis and a development called North Park at Highway 70 and Highway 170, where it's the home of Express Scripts today. So Clayco Realty, Bob Clark, and Midge and I are also doing that, and then also at the same time started buying land in the city 11 years ago.
11 years ago, you quietly started acquiring land that was sat vacant or sat for sale for years.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You were criticized for buying that land. Am I right so far?
Yes, well, what we did and what we were basically criticized for is we did it quietly for almost 4 years.
Right.
Yet people like us don't come on your show and say, hey, we're going to go buy land, and that's not the way this works. So
Right.
we did it quietly for 4 years, and then one Sunday, Father's Day, we found ourselves on the front page of the Post-Dispatch, not knowing the article was coming.
Right.
Yeah. And let's go back a second. Why did you want to start building in North St. Louis? What was it about North St. Louis? Did you just see a business opportunity? Was this altruistic? Was this a good value? What was your thought process?
I think the best thing, and Midge can answer from her perspective, from my perspective, we were criticized in quite a bit in the community and the design community, basically for a Wing Haven, because we were considered urban sprawlers.
Yeah, we were big urban sprawlers.
Right. And we said, we could do this anywhere if we had land. It just takes land.
Right.
And so no one really believed us. So after We sold our companies in 2002, and a little bit before then, I started driving North St. Louis looking for land because I thought we could help our city if we could find land. Well, there's no vacant land in the central west end. There's none south. There's none in the central quarter. So the only vacant land is north.
Right.
So we started driving north and drew a circle around and said, if we can get 50% of this land, we'll do a project.
Because developers, you can do a small mom and pop shop can do one house, two house, three houses, but big developers, the money doesn't work out doing one or two. I mean, to redevelop something, you need massive amounts of land.
Well, yes, you can't put an Express Scripts or a MasterCard on a 50-foot front. MasterCard's sitting, I believe, on 52 acres. Express Script in North Park today is roughly 60 acres. So we needed to have sites. So the idea was, how are we going to assemble these? But the other thing is, again, we get criticized a lot. Why don't you do it a block at a time? Well, our answer to that is we got to match the development to the blight. There's a lot of blight in this particular area of the north side that we're trying to cure.
And people have been trying to do it parcel at a time for the last 50, 60, 70 years.
70 years.
Well, and I'll add that we've been buying the property 25 to 50 feet at a time. When you buy a piece of property, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not big blocks.
They're not, and a lot of them aren't contiguous, but that's how you buy it in the city.
One of the criticisms was that you bought the property and then didn't do anything with it while you were amassing it.
Yeah, what ended up happening is while we were amassing it, then what we end up doing is had to go through the whole redevelopment and TIF process with the city of St. Louis, which took us about 2 years. And that was in 2009. In December of 2009, we were authorized for development of 1,500 acres with the city. We had the development rights, and we also got approval of a $394 million TIF. Within 6 weeks' time of that December date, the city was in McKee and Northside Regeneration were sued, saying that the TIF was done improperly, and the state of Missouri was sued, saying that the distress area land assemblage tax credit was not constitutional.
All of those things have now been adjudicated, and they've all been thrown out, right?
It's taken 4 years. Both cases went to the Missouri Supreme Court. The first case, the state defended on the constitutionality. That was decided in July of 2012. And then the TIF case went to the Circuit Court, Appellate Court, and Supreme Court. It was decided the second week of April this year, of 2013.
And nobody did anything wrong. There was no shenanigans. It was all done above board. Everything was okay. It just delayed this project 4 years.
4 years. And many millions of dollars in legal fees to get through that 4-year process and to be able to try to maintain the properties through that 4-year process.
Why would, and this is the question I have for the last 4 years that I've wanted to ask you, and that is, why? I mean, you didn't need it. It was a headache. You were spending money, like as you said, millions of dollars. Why? Why not just do like so many other people do and say, you know what? Forget it. These people don't want my help. They don't want me to help fix this up. It's easier to go buy farmland and do it that way. Why did you buy the headache?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. The number one is the idea here that the people were against it is totally incorrect. We were basically sued by 4 people. 2 black people, 2 white people, 2 lived in the city and 2 didn't. We don't know their motivations, and we're not going to judge the motivations, but I believe they were trying to run us off, and we weren't going to run off. That was our commitment, was to our community. The one part of it is very difficult for us to admit, but it really helped us in some ways, McGraw, because it forced us to go meet the people.
Yes.
In the last 4 years, Midge and I have done 150 plus meetings in the community, and we are welcomed like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. The last one we had at Vashon, I had to laugh. We got a wonderful email from one of the people that were there, and she said she really enjoyed it. It was very informative, and she said it was hilarious at times.
So in actuality, the people, the rank and file who were begging for you to help, that story never got through.
I don't believe that story's ever been told. And begging is maybe a strong word. Once we're able to sit down, they're able to meet Midge and I, understand we're common and ordinary people that are trying to do something good, and are putting our money where our mouth is, basically. And once we do that, the people respond like you wouldn't believe.
It doesn't mean that they always agree
Oh, no.
or are not unhappy with this. If they have something in their property or on the property next door they want fixed, please don't think we're saying it's all roses. But I think they're ready for something different. They know it can be different.
That is Midge McKee and Paul McKee. We're going to come back and find out what this plan entails. Now that everything is passed, they're going to start building, and we're going to find out what exactly is going on. Paul McKee and Midge McKee here for the first time together, talking about their Northside redevelopment project together. 9:22 here on the Big 550 KTRS.